Welcome, everybody, to Represent PA's May breakfast briefing. Well, not a breakfast briefing, it's a lunchtime briefing. We are joined by a very special guest speaker, Dr. Rachel Bitecofer, and we're going to be talking about primary election results and messaging that wins. For those of you joining us today for the first time, my name is Gwen Stoltz, and I'm the Executive Director of Represent PA. We're the only organization in Pennsylvania that is solely dedicated to investing in pro-choice Democratic women that are running for the Pennsylvania House and Senate. Now, since we got started in 2014, Represent PA has invested now over $2.5 million into more than 160 women across the Commonwealth. We raise money across the Commonwealth and we invest across the Commonwealth. And I should say that over half of those investments have come in just the last couple of legislative cycles. So we've had a significant up ramp. Since that time, so 2014, the state legislature was made up of only 17% women. We've almost doubled the number of women, and now we're at about a third. However, women make up over half the population in Pennsylvania. So although we're making progress, we're not quite there. If you look at that third of the women, third serving in the legislature, and you break that into Democrat and Republican, the number of Democratic women has almost tripled, which far outpaces the number of Republican women, which has only gone up by about 50%. So we know we're doing something right. We're just not quite there yet. We've got more work to do. We have absolutely changed the conversation about what it means to be a woman running in Pennsylvania. And with these steady investments, we're breaking down financial barriers and helping more women be viable candidates. And I am just love being part of this work and am honored to be in this position. Now, before I turn things over to Christine Jacobs and to Rachel Bitecofer, I want to just give a special shout out and congratulations. We were talking a little bit informally before everyone hopped on, but Brittany Blome is here with us today. She's running in House District 45 out in Allegheny County. This is the Anita Kulik seat. So Representative Anita Kulik is retiring. She's not seeking re-election, but Brittany had a really tough primary. I'm sorry for all that you went through. Thank you for sticking with it and doing it. Brittany was running against an anti-choice Democratic man. That's right, anti-choice Democrat. It's weird. We don't usually say those two things together, but she won, I would say, in a landslide. And I'm just, congratulations. And thank you for all that you did to get that win.
Thank you. Just thank you again to Represent and everyone who contributes and supports, because Represent was my biggest financial contributor and really helped legitimize this campaign early on. And I so appreciate that.
Thank you. And Megan Griffin-Shelley, I'm not sure if she made it on or not. Megan is running in House District 148. This is Representative Mary Jo Daley's seat, who is also retiring and not seeking re-election. So another open seat. Megan was victorious in her contested primary. So congratulations to Megan. Jessica McClay, running in House District 121 in Luzerne County, is also running in an open seat. This is Eddie Day Pashinsky's seat, Democrat not seeking re-election, and Jessica won her contested primary. And then Rachel Cuevas, who is running in a little bit of a more challenging district, not an open seat, in Lehigh County in House District 187, also won her contested primary. And then the three women on the bottom here, these were sort of special circumstances. We were keeping our eye to see who won these primaries. So in House District 120, Fern Leard, who is on with us today, was running against Joanna Bryn Smith. And as Christine Jacob mentioned before everyone hopped on, this was a very unique situation because both women had run for the seat previously and both had been endorsed by Represent previously. So we really wanted to let the voters decide who they wanted, and Fern won, I would say, also in kind of a landslide victory. So congratulations, Fern, on that win in Luzerne County. Cece Gerlach in House District 22 in Allegheny County. That's incorrect. That is not Allegheny County. That is Lehigh County. Forgive my typo there. Cece is running against Anna Taberchio, who very recently won a special election. But Cece really knocked it out of the park and ran a very robust campaign and won that race. Sierra McNeil in House District 195, that's another race that we were keeping our eye on. She won quite handily against seated incumbent Keith Harris. And for all of these women, I'm really excited for Represent PA to continue to support them as they continue their races into November. We will be sending out a more detailed analysis of primary election results, so keep an eye on your inbox. But with that, I want to turn things over to Christine Jacobs. Many of you on here know Christine. If you don't, let me just share a few words. Christine is the co-founder of Represent PA and served as the executive director for over 10 years. And truly, Represent PA would not be what it is today if it was not for her leadership and for all the tireless hours that she put into this organization. And I just want to say thank you, Christine, for being a mentor for me as I step into this role. And now I do consider you a friend as well. So I'm going to turn things to you to introduce Dr. Rachel Bitecofer, and then Christine is going to moderate the discussion, and then I will hop in just at the last few minutes to share a couple upcoming events.
And as we go through this, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and we'll ask them as it comes up. I'm very excited to have Dr. Bitecofer on with us. First, because I finally learned how to pronounce your name, because I confess I always said Bitecofer, so I'm sorry. But I'm really excited to have her because in 2018, she was a person who came out and said, oh, this race is going for the Dems, and things are going to change, and the things she pays attention to. And by listening to and understanding what's going on in the field are remarkable and unique. I loved her book, Hit 'em Where It Hurts, and I highly recommend it, particularly for our candidates and people working on campaigns, because it really is kind of a handbook for what works and what doesn't. And as Gwen knows, one of the things that hits me as I listen to a lot of her work is early on, we had a lot of candidates who were coming up against what the establishment Dems wanted to do in Pennsylvania. And they'd say, no, I want to knock doors. No, I want to talk to people and find out what their issues are. And Represent has always said, we like to elect women to office who don't just want to be somebody, they want to do something. And so it's perfectly aligned with what I know about Dr. Bitecofer's work. But as that said, take it away, Rachel. This is your presentation. We look forward to hearing from you.
I'm not on mute. Can everybody hear me okay?
Just fine, thanks.
Great, that's great. I'm using my cell phone, so at times I'm losing half my screen to my many notifications coming through, so you'll have to bear with me. But yes, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this midterm effect, and thank you for the kind comments about 2018. Honestly, it wasn't that I was a magician. It's that I'm a trained political scientist as an expert in voting behavior and campaigns and elections, which is a very different way to approach these topics than a practitioner or a candidate or a person who works in campaigns or even a journalist covering them experiences. And so what I understood is this concept now that most people are familiar with called the midterm effect. And that, the Trump election kind of snuck in there, not to say the least. People were a little surprised, and the backlash to them. I was beginning my first year as doing election polling in Virginia, and I ended up building a Gold Star horse race polling outfit for Virginia, and I could see it in the data. And by the way, one of those pieces of data was this unusually weird interest in the Dem primary in 2017, where for some reason, Dems, who never outperform Republicans in primary turnout, way exceeded them. And I want you guys to understand that ended, 4 months later, in a 9-point advantage for Ralph Northam, the Democrat in Virginia, a state that would go on to go red in 2021. And so we're really looking at an incredible cycle, and not just incredible to make these short-term gains, but to start on our long-term branding revival. This won't be in the slides, and I'm going to turn to them in a sec, because I'll tell you when to hit the button. But what people need to know, and I know Ken finally released the autopsy report. The reason he didn't release it earlier, it It was not in great shape, but it is out. And, it reaffirms what we already knew about 2024, to large extent. But what I would take on my tours, I do a lot of public speaking. So, the Washington State Democrats will have me speak at a convention or something like that. And I take with them a slide that shows when we came out of 2024, what did average Americans know about the Democratic Party relative really to the Republican Party? And guys, it was disturbing, okay? And this is Blue Rose research data, so it's top tier gold level research data for the Dems. And what it showed was voters were unable to articulate that Democrats were better for them on any of our core economic bread and butter issues, okay? That was literally 50-50. So what that means is when I called this exit poll voter or talked to them and I said, which party's better on Social Security? They were just as likely to say Republicans as Democrats, okay? And there was only one thing that the public actually really knew about us. It was at 90% Dem. Everyone knew it was the Dems, and that was gay rights, which is great because it's an issue we all care about. But it's an issue that is established now, right? And so what we're trying to do is get people to understand the power of this economic moment. Donald Trump has handed Democrats, in my argument, we wouldn't need this miracle from Trump, okay? We should have been doing this 6 years ago, which is taking the brand of good for the economy away from the Republicans. It's always going to be their number one issue in the voters' mind. Almost always it's economic concerns because it's never great in America to be broke, right? And we have totally ceded this brand to the Republicans, and now they've destroyed the economy. I think this is their third time. So what we want to do is we want to use this opportunity to get in there. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what I mean by getting in there in a second. But we're going to get in there and we want to wedge away part of the Republican electorate that's not Republican. They don't say they're Republicans. And I just published an article talking about how MAGA support for Trump remains at 95%. Okay. But in that coalition, you also have people who aren't Republicans, but always vote Republican, right? Those are our target audience. And we're going to see some cool data. Go ahead and switch me to my first thing there. I would appreciate that. I don't have my slides, so okay. So, I mean, it's not complicated. Midterms or referendums. What made me a great forecaster in 18 is understanding that and understanding the census data had kind of gotten outdated in terms of places like Richmond and other places. So we were going to gain 40-ish seats in the House, and that's exactly what we did, right? But what Republicans have always understood about the midterm effect is that it's there, so you should tap into it and ride the wave, right? The strategy was invented by my friend Michael Steele for the Fire Pelosi bus tour in 2010. You guys might remember 2010. Republicans went from killing the economy in 2008 and being like, people were like, oh, they're going to be out of power forever, to 63 seats in the House, riding a referendum effect about Obamacare, right? For the crime of giving people health care. So we don't want to fight the national environment. We're going to talk a little bit about what that means, because it doesn't mean you ignore local stuff. It means you're tapping into a national environment of affordability, but you're making that pain localized and you're setting the blame on local Republicans. All right, let's switch a next slide over. And when I say historic, I really mean it, guys. Okay. So people, I think a lot of people remember my work talking about the importance of base turnout. But what I was trying to explain to people is you don't get a base turnout problem when the midterm is on your side. So where we faced base turnout problems was 2022. That was going to be a hard midterm effect to blunt. And we did blunt it where we ran this strategy. And I want people to understand that. The only places that blunted the midterm effect in 22 ran the strategy that I'm pitching to you guys today. But what we have seen in these specials is so much better than 2018, because in 2018, we were dominating all the swing races. We didn't win any deep red races. And the reason is you cannot do it unless Republicans vote for a Democrat, which is the hardest thing to get, Republican voters to do. So what we are seeing in data, and not just in this one special, but across several of them, is that majority Republican electorates, so not because the turnout favored us, have been voting for some Dems, right? And that is historic, and it's really a product of how bad Trump is, because we're talking about, you know, all the other presidencies and all their other controversies, and then there's Donald Trump, right? It's like so abnormally bad. And, you know, the gas and the tariff price hiking is a huge opportunity for us. But we don't want to just run on affordability. We want to do a hero villain story, right? You know, he said they were going to lower prices day one. For example, you know, in the Egan campaign, they're facing Joe Hogan, vice chair of the Affordability Committee, right? Said he was going to make stuff affordable. Is it affordable? No, it's not, right? All right, so huge opportunity. In my opinion, with good strategy, we could take all three of those Senate seats that we need for the Senate majority, or four, depending, right? And, you know, probably increase this House size by another 6 seats. And that's, you know, the Virginia model. It took me a long time to get Virginia to hum like that, but it finally did. It resisted me in 2021 and ended up in a terrible spot. But they do great negative partisanship, you know, contrast messaging now, and they're winning big. Let's see the next slide. So yeah, these victories are driven by, I know people want Democrats to stand for something, especially at our events, and we are going to stand for something. We have lots of things we can stand for. But in terms of our paid advertising, just the paid advertising, I'm talking about your DMs, your ads, and the digital ad strategy should be extensive, because that's where you can save so much money and micro target right down to your little districts. That has to be in contrast messaging, okay? It has to do the job of saying, this guy is the problem and I'm the solution, right? It's enough to say, in Virginia with Spanberger, with Abby, her first ads on affordability did not mention Trump or the tariffs, okay? That's no good. You don't want to be running against affordability without blaming somebody for it, because people are going to expect you to fix it, by the way, number one. And number two, like, we're trying to tap into this national environment and maximize your seat share in these 2 chambers, right? So we want, if there's already this angst that they've gotten screwed over by Republicans on affordability, and we go in there and reiterate that message to them, right? Because you look at natural polling, and it's only about 50% of people who blame Trump for high prices, okay? And some of that's partisan Republicans who will never say that Trump does anything wrong, but it shows that there's still weakness in the middle, and that we need to come in and tell people where their money went, okay? So we have to do that in our paid advertising. Go on to the next one. Let's see. Yeah. And again, we're not talking about base Republicans. So when we look at data, an article I published today on the cycle, we're like talking about lockstep, almost 100% lockstep support in that cult. Okay. It's firm. But we're also talking about a lot of people who are independents who lean Republican, and in political science, we know those people are going to vote Republican or Democrat, depending on which party they lean, as reliably as admitted partisans will, okay? So, you know, we get down to that 10, 15% of people who don't go into one of those camps. What do we want to be doing? Well, we want to be in there, we want to be like, yes, you're angry and here's why, and you should be, and I'm going to fix it, right? And that messaging has the added bonus of driving really strong turnout for you, right? So, you know, the Republicans don't have 2 buckets anymore. They don't have a base mobilization thing and then some bucket with persuasion that's being done. They treat the electorate as one, and the persuasion message doubles down for base mobilization, right? And you can't do that, obviously, when your persuasion messaging is boring biographical stuff, or just generic, she's going to fight for healthcare and education, I'm going to make the school strong, whoopty shit. Totally useless money, okay? And these races are always going to be tight on money. And since I want like 6 or 7 House seats and all of the Senate, like, we can't afford to waste money. We should be really smart about how we invest, and we should maximize the midterm effect. So we're not going to be hit the next slide, please, Gwen. We're not going to be telling people they're dumb for voting for Republicans. That's not what we're going to tell them. We are going to tell them, they betrayed you. And why did I settle on the word betrayed? Because that's the word they use, okay? When I watch MAGA social media people who have broken with the party, it's about betrayal. When I read their comments, the word betrayal comes. Nobody has ever done this before. Presidents always fail to deliver, okay, because they can't deliver what they promised to win election in a system that's not designed to deliver a lot in the best of times. These are not the best of times, obviously, so it really isn't going to deliver. Presidents are always set up to fail. Never has one said, I'm going to make prices lower on day one, and then done tariffs and made prices higher on day two, right? Never has one said, I'm going to keep you out of stupid wars, and then just, without asking anyone, invades Iran and makes gas prices $6 an hour. It's a historic opportunity. Hit the next slide. So, we're not going to attack the voters. Never, you're wrong to have voted for them. You were promised something and they betrayed you. Do you see that difference of posture? Go ahead again. I just don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure I get everything in there. So yeah. And then the other thing is, guys, and I'm glad there's some candidates here, or maybe they're reps. Gwen knows that I'm kind of pushing for this idea. I have picked up with the Egan campaign to work on strategy with them. And I'm looking to build out that swing map clientele, because what I want to do is have everybody humming. If we want to get to the point where Virginia is now, it's going to take centralization between these campaigns of strategy, right? So what we want to do is get everybody running contrast strategies, considering, in these campaigns, a lot of times the most resourced entity will be the campaign. And current standard is, we'll let the IEs do some negative ads, right? No. Like, if we got $1 million for your race, we want to make sure that 80% of that's getting distributed to the electorate. And we want to make sure that every one of those distributions are optimized to get voters to the polls to vote for you, and not for the other guy. So we can't waste your campaign, if you see what I'm saying, and just hope that some IE comes in and does proper strategy. We really have to push these campaigns to make these changes now and be bold, right? I mean, if you want to win, and I think that some of your reach districts were just so promising. When we look at that turnout, even the reachiest House race for you guys saw the Democratic nominee outperformed by 1,000 votes, right? The Republican nominee. That's insane, right? So it really shows us, this energy is here, and the question is, are we going to let it can roll over, and you guys are going to win stuff. Like, you can never talk to me again, and you're going to win stuff, okay? But like, if you really want to win big, like we do it properly, we could really turn this into a large referendum dynamic in Pennsylvania. And that gets around your guys' problem where you've been stuck, I don't know, for like 20 years, which is that some of these Republicans that you have to beat are actually, in fact, moderates. Well, so were many of the Democrats that lie in the political gravestone of the Republican Party's hit list, okay? We're talking about some of the best moderates in the history of the House and the Senate, all wiped out because swing districts is where moderates have to serve. They don't get elected in safe districts. And, they did it to us, right? And so all I am saying is, let's give it back to them. And we know the strategy works because it works for them, right? It's actually worked across the country now. But, in terms of, why we want to do this, when we know that with Michael Steele's strategic shift in 2010, which is a very different form of persuasion, okay? We're talking about us, we persuade as if we're selling a product people want to buy. And anybody who works in politics knows that voters don't want to buy politics, okay? It's not a Toyota. It's not a truck. We're selling something everyone hates, a product no one wants and everyone hates. And we do it on biography, candidate qualifications, candidate background, and, this benign, dry language about schools and education and whatever else, right? That's not how the Republican Party does persuasion. Their system, as the book lays out, it's a binary choice. They understand that. People can vote for A or they can vote for B. For most of them, that's all they're ever going to do. And so if you're selling something people already don't like, it's hard to sell. It might be easier just to get the other, to shit on the other option, right? And so their persuasion is all about guilt by association, tying, our greatest Democrats, our most moderate people, to AOC, to Ilhan Omar, to Obama back in the days. Now it's going to be Mandami. I can promise you. I can already see their ads. Okay, I could write their ads, right? And in their party, by the way, I would be writing their ads because they like to win shit. So, what we're doing is not, what I'm arguing to do is not, doesn't make you feel good. It's not telling you you're, curing racism while getting people to vote for you. But what it's going to do is going to make these people who voted for Republicans in the past hesitant to do so again and likely vote for you. And to me, the only thing that matters in a campaign is the W at the end. I don't care if the testing and the ads looked great like David Shore does, okay? Whoop-de shit. For me, the test is the election, okay? And, I'm very glad to have been here today to talk to you about Pennsylvania cycle, this historic opportunity, and what we could do to move Pennsylvania Democrats just in its entirety into the future of electioneering so that we can hold on to Pennsylvania and make sure that what happened in 2024 never happens again, because that was sad. And I'll stop so people have time to ask questions. You can share those slides with the campaigns. There's some information on the back of campaigns I've worked with and my qualifications.
So a couple of people have been asking about, how this is incorporated into our state races, for example. Are you dealing at all with the state Democratic parties, in particular, looking at Pennsylvania or Governor Shapiro, or are you mostly dealing with candidates down in the...
So I am a virgin to PA. It's a new swing state for me. Okay. And
it's a good one.
My access point has kind of been interesting because it's from a donor who donates to state legislative races in Pennsylvania. So that's how I ended up connected to the Egan campaign. I have met with HDCC. They do know the work I'm going to be doing with Egan's campaign. They are not hostile to it. They are making some of these changes, but, again, it's always kind of baby steps and we really can't do baby stepping anymore. Like, we're in a crisis, right? So we need to speed things up. So right now, the only official job I have, I've never met the Shapiro machine. They don't even know I exist as far as I know. I don't think Josh Shapiro has ever heard my name. And, that would be great to fix someday. But yeah, right now, this cycle, I'm really focused on the candidates for the state Senate that are in these 3 swing races or beyond. And these 6 or 7 most prospective house races, because I'm certain. Oh, can you show them, actually, when I lied, let me show them like the mock-up I did for Egan to show them what I'm talking about in terms of messaging. If you don't mind, that would be great, because I forgot to do that. It's coming up in a minute. You'll see it because it's got an image, just different slide. It's near the end. Yep, that's it. I mean, this is not necessarily what we're going to run, okay? I'm just showing you what you're going to be looking at against you in the fall. If they, this is what they would do to you if they had our deck of cards. They had this deck of cards in 2024. And so, by the way, these are literally the slogans they ran with. I mean, I've modified one of them a little bit, right? But that's what they did. In Pennsylvania especially, those they-them ads were brutal. And I know Ken just released the autopsy report this morning, and it reaffirms how brutal that advertising was. And then, with Joe Hogan, right? That's what contrast messaging does. And these are direct mailers. And the reason why, guys, that they're so plain is because we are designing direct mailers like people care about our stuff. But I question you. When you check the mail and you get something like a flyer for a roofing company or something, right? How much consideration are you giving that? You're going like this, roofing company, and it's tossed into the recycling bin, right? Well, believe it or not, most recipients don't want to read our political. I know that seems weird. They don't. So what they get is that it has to happen in a glance, right? The main thrust is Joe Hogan's not some moderate business nice guy. He's actually part of the problem, and to explain how you do that, and what I keep trying to repeat to people, we're nationalizing the environment. The national environment is backlash to Trump and his high prices and his broken promises, okay? But what we'll be doing in that campaign when we get down into starting ads is we're going to localize the pain, because guess what? every district, every state has people who have been caught up in these tariffs or this gas problem or whatever it is, right? We're going to find them and do direct to camera advertising. So we're localizing the pain, but we are nationalizing the environment. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But yeah, there's a lot I can tell you guys. I'll have a meeting with any candidate that wants to meet with me, or a group of you guys that want to meet with me, and we can get a little bit more jiggy with that. But that's what that will look like in your direct mail. It's not about Kristen is an educator and she does this and she's going to do that. I mean, we can have that on there somewhere, but the main point is this guy is part of the problem. The problem right now is these Republicans and Trump, and he is part of that problem. That is how they dominated state legislative campaigns coming out of 2010. And by the way, won 1,000 seats with that strategy, 1,000 seats, because they were out party midterm effect and they switched their strategy to this.
Well, one of the things, that I was just reflecting on as I saw that last ad is one of the things that I had not liked on the Hillary campaign in 2016 was all of her signs that said, "I'm with her." And I just always wanted to say, no, she's with you. And let's flip that around because it's not inspiring. And this was, she's with me. Okay, I know I vote for. And some of the things that I like about what you're talking about is, and this, several people have commented, "Oh, can we get this Pennsylvania wide? What else can happen?" And we can work on that. We can help that happen. But more to the point, your individual campaigns can do a lot. And the individual campaigns that you're all touching do a lot. Because so many of the candidates that we've supported over the last 10 years who have been successful have not relied on the structure in Pennsylvania. Either it was against them, or it wasn't working well for them, or it was too status quo. And so many of the women that we've supported who've been successful have gone in there and found the issues and wanted to make things happen.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, like these victims are already out there. Like we all know them. We can find them very easily. And, that's the most effective thing. I mean, in 21, when Democrats got put in, and I focus a lot on that Virginia Democrat 21 race, because what did they do? They took an issue that didn't even exist. Like 11 months earlier, there was no such thing as CRT. I know, I'm a public opinion expert. Okay, right. It appears, and I know how I won't get into that, but it appears, and within 11 months, it is the only thing the media or anyone is talking about for the 2 months final in Virginia. And why is that bad? It was all defense, right? And I don't want that to happen to you guys. I want to be on offense. I want to put them on defense. I want them on their heels the entire cycle. And, whatever they throw at you, counter offense, not defense, okay?
So what other questions do some of our candidates have?
That issue is definitely data centers. It's the political that is the new third rail, okay? And if you're in one of these rural districts and you can tie your opponent in any way to data centers, gold.
And I know, I'm guessing Gwen's going to mention it. Our next breakfast briefing is going to be all about data centers, because one of the things that we've tried to do for our supporters is to talk about issues that they don't know. How do I learn more about this?
Yeah. I just wrote an article about how it's the new third rail in politics, and that if you're a politician of either party, you have to be insane to come out in favor of data centers, right? It's like everybody in these little towns that did it got recalled, guys. So we're talking about conservative rural voters recalling people off of AI. It's a huge opportunity for us. And even the New Democrats, which is like, probably your quintessential establishment Dem caucus in DC. The New Dems just put out a policy, and guess what? It's repealing Trump's tariffs, which is, by the way, so important to say. Not repealing tariffs. Whose tariffs? Trump's tariffs. Okay, Trump's tariffs. That's what they would do to you. Biden's tariffs. Biden's tariffs. Biden's tariffs. You gotta. It is annoying to say things like that. Sounds stupid too, maybe, but we have to do it because that's where the branding weight happens. And yeah, AI data center is such a no-brainer that even the New Dems are like, no AI data center. like, so, like, you know what I mean? So that's a huge issue. And I would love if there's any candidates in here with some kind of local data center, something going on to talk to you about that.
A few of the people who have put comments on are candidates in Cumberland County and in some of the other areas around. There are data centers. And so that's a big issue for a number of our candidates. Yeah, that is a big issue for a number of our Pat West, can you put your microphone, unmute?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a family thing.
Pat coughed and picked her up. But yeah, it's been a big issue for a number of our candidates, and I'm sure that they're going to be reaching out to you. Maybe we can put together something with a few of these candidates talking to you and get a group thought.
Yep, that'd be great.
I see Cherry Rogers has her hand raised, who's running out in House District 58.
Yes.
She's where?
Westmoreland County.
Thank you.
House District 58 against Eric DeVanzo. How early is it already too late? Have I been playing the unions and all the fluff for too long? Or when should I start looking? I have a number of sources and resources that show voting record and enough to blame him on that he should be covered in his own stuff.
I'm so sorry, guys, if you can hear that in the background, because my autistic son is throwing up upstairs. I'm on this call with you.
Well, I'm a school nurse, so as long as nobody comes in on me and throws up here, we're good.
Thank God this is like a women's meeting, right? You guys all understand.
We all have lives.
And I feel so horrible for him, but this is so important. I'm going to stay right here and let him. He's 12 years old, so he can do it.
But anyway, is it too late for Cherry? She's got things.
That's on the edge of my seat.
Unfortunately for us, because we're not the Republicans and we choose not to do things until September, it's never too late.
Okay.
So no, and really, we're talking about election. Now, number one, let's talk about signs, okay? Like somehow, some way, 15 years ago, somebody told somebody that signs don't vote. I've read that political science article, by the way. And like, here's the problem with that. Signs don't vote, but the people who see them do. And here's our biggest hurdle in a race like yours. Many of your voters will never even know there's an election. Okay. And how do we know that? Well, go talk to some casual people like the gas station guy or the grocery store clerk and say, are you excited about the midterms? And they're going to look at you and they're going to say, what's a midterm? They don't know what a midterm is, right? And we have smarted ourselves into the belief that we don't need signs, that they're a waste of money, that they're something that we shouldn't bother to do. Right? Well, you know what? Republicans don't do that. In fact, like I just watched our county commissioner, who's a MAGA moron, cruise to easy victory. Why? He had billboards and signs all over Eugene. It's a nonpartisan race, right? So, this idea that you don't need signs, it's a very damaging thing. So if you're in one of these longer shot districts, you're going to be resource cursed, right? And you have to be very selective about what you do. That can make decisions difficult on what to do. Some of the higher up races are going to have a plethora of money, and they're going to want to spend almost all of it on TV because that's how your consultants get paid. They do not get paid the same commission to run a digital ad, okay? I mean, they make money off of it, but it's not the big money that they like, right? So that's why they keep pushing you to TV, and we certainly don't want to abandon TV in those big races that have budgets for it, but we really want to be using digital ads, if they're low budget campaigns, digital ads, lots of field and lots of signage, especially if you can create a bandwagon effect. So like where signs are really important is, say you go knocking in one of these Republican strongholds and you're finding Democrats there first, right? That's what you're going to probably start off. But anyway, if you can convince them to host a sign in a neighborhood that is generally Republican, you can start to create a bandwagon effect because it gives a permission structure for other people to break from the crowd, right? So they're very important things. And, Ken Martin and Jamie Harrison, who's the former chair or current chair, understand that. That's why the DNC has started to reinvest in signs and billboards and things like that. Like the idea that everyone knows there's a midterm. I mean, in our lives, like that's how it feels. No, guys. And if you don't have signs up, especially in like an off-year election like this, a lot of people won't even notice there's an election. So like, how are they going to vote for you if they don't even know, right? So it's very important in these low budget races, especially to kind of, make sure that budget stretches out. And then that's why those direct mailers can't be wasted. Okay. They can't be wasted on how great you are. They should be like, hey, this guy's an asshole. He stole all your money. Like,
well, first of all, Represent PA bought my signs all the way up into, I bought enough for all the way up into November. I have 7 festivals to go through. I thank you.
We love you, Gary.
But what I've noticed in 24 when I ran, his signs got progressively bigger.
Yes.
And, every time I go someplace, like we all giggle, like, oh, compensating for something? His signs keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
But what I wanted to really look at is he actually hosted Trump. He hosted Trump at his father-in-law's farm, made it out to be his farm, got his sign autographed by Donald Trump. It was proudly endorsed by Donald Trump. Should I be using that? Should I be going like, I'm going to tie you directly to this guy and let him sink you?
Yeah, but you got to find in that. I mean, you guys have partisan registration in Pennsylvania, so that's a huge advantage. And you know exactly who is calling themselves an out-and-out Republican. Those people you do not want to waste your time or money on because you're never going to convince them. Find the independents in the precincts that are going 60, 70% for Republicans because you know that those votes are coming from those swing voters. And those are the people that you want to go and target with that. Yeah.
So another question, Sarah Egler asked, she says her microphone's not working. She buys in fully to this conversation about no data centers and what data centers have done to us. Our governor, however, has come out and said, well, we've got the concept and some of this is good for jobs and things. And she's debating how to go in and be herself and run the campaign she wants. It's not exactly where he is.
I bet you Josh Shapiro will pivot off of that message because the man wants to be president and he will never be president if he doesn't come down on AI data centers. And eventually they'll figure it out because they always catch up to me eventually. So I wouldn't worry about it. I bet by fall he's going to be like, yeah, no, they're a real problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sarah, go for it is what I think I heard Rachel say. Do what, again, so many of the women that we've supported who've been effective have had their message, even if it's not exactly what the party wants. And they've got their way of knocking on doors, even if it's not exactly what they were told to do, because it's in their district.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Everyone's major issue right now is affordability. You don't need deep research to know it. Everyone is broke. And let me reiterate how broke we are. In Eugene, it's like Berkeley, okay? Eugene Springfield is like the Oregon equivalent of Berkeley. And we just had every spending measure on the ballot go down except for the library levy. Yep. And that was like every one of them. And we usually vote to fund stuff. Like, okay, here, well, you can raise my taxes. It's important, right? Not this time. And statewide, the gas tax bill went down like 70%, dude. Okay. Like, people are broke. Like, we are broke people. And what we want right now is someone to say, I'm going to make it better. These people stole your money. I'm going to come after them. I'm going to get it better. I'm going to repeal these tariffs. At the local level, unfortunately, this is just the cold hard truth. And this is why nationalizing the local races was so successful at their state legislative level, is that most people don't even really realize there is a state legislature. Okay. They don't. Like, many people can't name the governor. I know that Shapiro's probably got pretty decent name ID, but they don't know who the lieutenant governor is. So we're talking about, like, who are we talking to? Well, we're trying to talk to people who don't necessarily even know who their senator is. All right. So if we're up here in the cerebral world of, deep policy, right? That's like, all right. What they want to hear is shit is expensive. They did it. I'm going to fix it. Simple, simple, simple.
Yes. What, any other comments, questions people have? what I think, Gwen, what I think we'll do is we'll connect for all of our candidates who are on this call. We can connect them with Rachel, but maybe we have a separate call just with candidates or something together and figure out how that could work. If the candidates like it,
And again, I am already working with the Egan campaign. I'm excited about that campaign. You know, it's on the full swing map. But, you know, to be honest with you guys, it's an R+1. I am confident we can flip everything that's R+2 and under. Okay.
Right.
So if you're in a district that's R+2, we're going to be killing it. Right. But what I don't want to see happen is that we don't try harder for the rest of the map and for those 3 state Senate races. I have never even heard anyone really talking. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of stakeholders, guys, not the top tier of your state, but, you know, down here in the grassroots and people who are party activists and volunteers and party members. And I'm here to tell you, like, I don't even hear, like, I haven't heard yet an appreciation for how good this environment is and how much of a crop it could be yielded from it. And, you know, I'd like to hear people talking about taking those 3 Senate races because they are totally within our reach this time. Yep.
Well, one of the things, you know, Represent has supported, I'm almost done, Gwen. Represent has supported women who have run, who have been in very our states. And we say it's good because they're taking away some votes and getting their names out. But some of the women that are on this call have run before.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, for me, it's a matter of mathematics, and it's the demographics of your districts. So, you know, previous vote share, which Democrats love to use, is really noisy because it reflects whether the person had a challenger, an effective challenger, and you can be the most effective challenger in the whole fucking world, but if you have no money, it doesn't matter, right? So that's a noisy indicator, but what me and Cook, like Dave Wasserman and Nate Silver and nerds use is something called the PVI, which is the partisan voting index. And it's a formula, and it does incorporate that data, but it's more well-rounded, okay? So what we're looking at, and if you go back on the cycle and read the midterm analysis that I put out a couple months ago about how big our cycle could be, I talk about these PVI scores. And for us in this cycle, like, we better be winning everything that's PVI +3 and under. Okay. We better be winning those. And we could get up to like +7 in some rare cases based on what we've seen in these special elections. So want to make sure that we don't miss this opportunity. It's never going to be a better opportunity to toss these 3 incumbent moderate Republicans out. There's never going to be a better op. And if we can do it now, then we can keep that majority. And you guys, how great would it be to have a trifecta? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got my list of things to pass. Thank you so much, Rachel. This has been, you know, the comments are how invigorating this is, how wonderful this is, and we will follow up with you.
Great. Sounds good. And thank you so much for giving me your time and attention today, everyone.
And Gwen, Rachel, do you want to finish up?
Yes, actually, I had a quick question, and someone put a question in the chat here, and I think you kind of answered it, but I'm not sure. They're asking, what is R+ terminology? Are you talking about a district that has more registered Republicans, or were you talking about the performance?
Yeah, so what it's telling us, okay, number one, if you read the book, you're going to learn how important partisanship is to vote choice, and that it explains vote choice for almost the entire electorate, except for about 10% of the swing electorate who says they don't lean one way or the other, okay? So partisanship is extremely important, and it's the most important thing. When I model, like, what's going to happen, PVI score explains, in political science speak, almost all of the variants of vote choice, okay? And so why that tells us then, these districts are, and this data is you know, coming to mid-decade, so it will change a little bit over the decade, but generally speaking, it's telling us this district has a slight registered advantage for Republicans compared to Democrats, right? And, you know, anything that's like, so we have anything ranging from D +30 points. So like a lot of our favorite legislators come from D+30 districts where they face competitive primaries and non-competitive general elections. But all of our swing races are going to be R+1 or even D+1, so a district that's held by a Republican but has a partisan voter score that's actually favorable to Democrats. There's a couple of those that, still out there. And those are, obviously the lowest hanging fruit. But, anything that's like a +3, this wave has the definite reach to get up to, especially if we do strategy well. And I can explain that more to candidates in a different, I can show them what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Thank you. Bill, did you have a question? Bill Ewing, are you still there? Somebody said you had a question. Probably got tired of waiting.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't have a question. I was just cheering, I think. But I do think I understood the previous question to Rachel to be, when you say PVI, are you talking about actual voting or are you talking about registration?
Voting, actual voting. Mm-hmm. And that's because, folks, most states don't have partisan registration. So in Virginia, we create scores that code people. Okay, this is obviously a Republican, obviously a Democrat, and the people we can't tell. But you guys have a huge advantage because of this partisan registration. That's why, I said that it's not just even the messaging we want and the ad strategy spending that we want to optimize. We want to optimize targeting as well. Like, where should these resources go? If I'm going to do field, where it will be most effective? Well, it's going to be most effective on those people who are casual Republican voters but consider themselves independent, and we can find them, and through digital work we can track them right through the internet. It's amazing. It's we just have to use these new tools that are available to us.
Well, thank you so much. Someone has asked in the chat about your book. When we send out the recap, I will definitely include how people can get the book. There's also been some comment about why, when Chris and I talk, there's feedback. I apologize. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Except for the barking sounds in the background, right?
So
it is on Audible. Unfortunately, yes, the book is on Audible, and I do read it. So you get 7 hours of my obnoxious voice and my, my sarcasm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, what a delight. And I'm just have hope for November. I'm going to very quickly share my screen again. And again, sorry. Maybe if everybody else mutes. There. Okay. All right. So I hope you'll join us next month, June 17th. As Christine already mentioned, we're going to be talking about data centers and AI. Look, it's coming, it's here. How are we going to deal with it? There's a lot of confusion about what this means and why it's happening. We're going to have an AI expert that's going to talk about why there's this push right now for data centers, Ded Anson. And then we're going to have Katie Bloom, who is with Conservation Voters of Pennsylvania, who's going to talk about environmental impacts. And then we're also going to hear from Senator Lindsey Williams, who's going to talk about some practical legislative solutions to protect our communities, especially on the environmental front, and then rising costs of utilities as these data centers come in. So I hope you'll tune in for that. If you are local to the Philadelphia area and you're going to be around June 7th, I hope you'll consider joining us in person at Bill Ewing's home. We have a phenomenal lineup of guest speakers, including the Speaker of the House. We have 3 candidates in some of the top targeted races across the Commonwealth: Eileen, who was on today, Kristen Egan, who is also on, and Elizabeth Morrow, who's running in Chester County, along with Representative Liz Hambidge and Senator Maria Collette, who is also the Pennsylvania Senate Democratic Campaign Caucus chair. And then, let me move this. If you are Lancaster local or Lidditz local, June 18th, we will be at the home of Judy Castle, and hope you'll consider joining us there. Other ways to stay involved, because here's the deal. We need you. We cannot do this work without you. And I want to tell a very quick story before everybody tunes off. Last week, I attended a listening session for the Governor's Advisory Commission on Women. It was a wonderful event. It was a bunch of women coming in, and we were listening about what are the things that matter most to women. And I got up and I said, we're all tired. You know, we all have all these issues. What we really need, and what Christine Jacobs said, is we need more women in leadership positions, because if we did that, we wouldn't have to have all these listening sessions. We would already have women in those roles, and they would know the things that we needed to address. So we can't do this work without you. Join our breakfast briefings, bring friends with you. If you have an idea for a breakfast briefing, please email us. If there's something you really think we should be talking about that's interesting to people, we want to hear about it. Come to an in-person event or host an event. If you have an idea for an event, please reach out to me. Join our endorsement committee. Here's something a little bit different than other groups. We invite donors into the conversation about how we're going to allocate the money that we've raised. Join our mailing list, follow us on social media, and of course, donate and tell your friends to donate. And thank you all. We did record this session. Hopefully the feedback wasn't too horrible, and we will share that out along with links for how to get the book. And then I'll connect separately candidates with you, Rachel, offline. Thank you all.